decided to do a little bit of ASMR, mostly just whispering and listening to some sounds. Because Assassin's Creed Unity has been very good to my channel over the course of its lifetime, and because Assassin's Creed Unity has been made relevant by Ubisoft, given that they gave it away for free on PC, which is still a deal until April 25th, by the way, so make sure you claim the game before then. You can just Google Assassin's Creed Unity giveaway and you should be able to see it. Now, the first thing I wanted to do was actually to listen to some of my favorite sounds in the game, sounds that I personally find very satisfying. I don't know if they'll have the same effect on you, but the idea is to basically have a relaxing experience. And if I absolutely have to fight people, then I'll try to make it as non-disruptive as possible. But for the most part, we should be avoiding conflict. And if we must move through guards, we will probably end up using stealth. Anyway, we're going to begin by selecting our Phantom Blade, and there's something I really love about this weapon, about this tool, and it's that the sound it makes when it unfurls under Arno's arm, and when he aims it out at somebody, it's just really, really enjoyable to listen to. For me, anyway. It's this nice, ratchety sound that is very unique to this game, and I can instantly recognize whenever I hear it. And we can even go ahead and squeeze off a shot, and that comes with, its own little array of sounds that are also quite satisfying. It's just so, I hesitate to use the word iconic, but really that's what it is. It's quite an iconic sound. It's something that, if the game wasn't even running and if I heard that sound, I would immediately know that, oh, that's the sound of Arno's Phantom Blade. Now you might be hearing, bells in the distance, and another thing that I really like about this game is that actually almost all of Unity's sound design is absolutely genius, in my opinion. Part of the reason for this game's incredible atmosphere is actually how good its use of sound is, and this is actually something that it shares with Assassin's Creed 1, AC1, when you actually turn the sound and the music off and you're walking around, the cities. They're actually much more sparse and much less crowded than you may imagine. I believe Farlander did a video on this recently. Or maybe not so recently, but recently enough in any case where, if you take away the ambient sound of AC1, the game becomes significantly less immersive, significantly less atmospheric. And I mean, just listen to the sounds of Arno's feet on this roof. They're absolutely wonderful. If we run around a little, you can hear them a little bit louder. It's just one of those tiny things that makes as you can see, the citizens are quite terrified. Generally speaking, militia and blue guards are stronger. So as you can see, because we killed the first one, that does clear the event. Once again. Oh, I missed. How dreadful. We can just apply Berserk Blades to those enemies and let things run their course. Now, we can still hear that crowd in the distance, and you may notice that over there is Notre Dame, and a bit of a tragedy befell this place recently, so I figured one of the things that I might want to do is actually to explore it in this game. And now, as we get closer and closer to the cathedral, you'll actually start finding it easier to hear the crowd below. You can hear crickets chirping, bird sounds, and as we walk closer and closer, we can hear and see the crowd below us. I think that a vista like this, a scene like this, is something that, we've really lost in the newer Assassin's Creed games. This scene right here, the massive crowd beneath us, the verticality of this city, both of these things help to, situate and position Assassin's Creed Unity as a very special and unique experience that, I haven't really played before or since. And I think that the more time passes and the longer the franchise goes on after this game, it really strikes me how impressive this game really is and how much I appreciate it for the things it tried to do. Now, the sound design continues to be quite excellent, even as we move down into the crowd. craftsman working. And of course, a drunkard. These women are knitting, which is something that I never really noticed before. I think they may have gotten mad that I got in front of them and obstructed their view. Or maybe that animation is scripted. Here in the sides, these confessionals are quite well replicated, I think, and useful in a certain memory. This chest shouldn't cause us too much trouble. I think that if chests were less plentiful, they would be more interesting and more of an event whenever you found one. However, if you turn most or all of the HUD off in this game, all of the heads-up display, the UI, the interface, then roaming around Paris, it makes more sense why there are so many chests and so many collectibles in the game, because due to their frequency and due to the density with which they're placed, it becomes much more likely that you stumble upon a chest or a cockade or anything of the sort without having to open your map and look for it. These people appear to be bothering this gentleman. And we're just gonna break that up and put a stop to it. Just not something I like to see. It's incredible, the readiness that people have to treat each other horribly. And again, when you're running through the world, when you're blasting along at full speed, you don't tend to notice and take in all these little details. And sure enough, I do wish that this game was more interactive. I do wish that this game was more systemic, because one of the things that people often criticize about Assassin's Creed Unity is that it's very, you can see but you can't touch. And what they mean by that is, the game has thousands of little animations, thousands of sound effects, and, character behaviors, but the moment you try to interact with them, there's really not much you can do. That said, I think this game is, in many ways, a lot more interactive than something like Origins and something like Odyssey, which made things a lot simpler and, a lot more surface. Which isn't to say that that is altogether a bad thing. I know that a lot of people love those games for those reasons. They're much more understandable experiences, and they're easier to learn, they're easier to get into, and they're much less frustrating is that there's a greater depth of combinations that you can, pull off with your different tools and stuff. I love how there are cannons here. It's so cool. Let's actually zip up to the top here and see where this takes us. So now we're on the second floor. Maybe even beyond. I always thought this organ was really cool. It's like most players will never pay attention to it, but they put it there anyway. There are stairs that go up here, and I'm wondering what the deal is with these chairs and these books. It's like this place has been ransacked. I guess somebody was looking for something. This is pretty much what my bookshelves look like when I lose my favorite copy of, the Night Angel trilogy, book 1, The Way of Shadows, and I'm scrambling around to look for it. It's pretty much like that. We're gonna make our way up these stairs and kinda just see where they take us, see where we can go. Even the way the moonlight reflects and, casts itself onto these wooden beams and this infrastructure and these supports is really cool, and something that, I never really paid attention to before. Might even take a screenshot of this, actually. Because I find it that interesting. This is a door. I'm wondering if this door ever is capable of being opened, or if it's just this one back here, which we actually can't go through because we're not in the memory that allows us to do so. I wonder if Arno can actually climb up here. Yes, he can. That's really cool. Didn't know that. Sometimes, the newer Assassin's Creed games tend to lock off areas like this with invisible walls, prevent you from doing stuff like we're doing right now. Let me see if I can go back this way and just experiment with the movement here. There's not really much we can do, but yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and drop down. And I think that we would be doing a disservice to this place if we didn't, run around up here for a short while. So, it's actually quite useful, all of these little places and areas and beams, because during the mission, confession, you can, make use of this to traverse this area without actually going down to the ground floor, and that's really helpful because the ground floor is where Siver is, the Templar target that Arno is hunting. And obviously, as an assassin, your ability to stay above your enemies is quite useful. You know, it offers you vision. It lets you see where they are. It makes the area below you, you know, smaller in your field of view than it would be if you were right inside the crowd and having to look around with your eagle vision. And that aside, people don't tend to look up very much because no one really expects a hooded rogue to be stalking them, you know, in preparation for delivering swift justice, as we say. We're going to pick our way through this window. And this will kind of let us emerge into the night. The sky's quite bright. The moon is really high in the sky tonight. But it is a little obscured by clouds. Yeah, I think I find this place quite pretty as well. There's lots to see here. Just trying to see if I can angle the camera for another shot that I might appreciate, or just to look around. I mean, where did I see the moon? Like it's right up there. Yeah. I think we'll be able to get a better look at that if we climb a little higher. We're gonna side hop onto this. Climb up right here. And in some ways this is quite overwhelming. Because, you know, you can really, for the most part, you can really kind of see the entire city from up here. And yeah, this is definitely something that I find lacking in Odyssey as the most recent game. I'm making a lot of comparisons to it. But that's one of the things I really loved about Unity, is that the height and the scale at which everything, you know, existed. It's just, it's incredible. When you look down, you know, it really does feel like it's very far away. If you buy in and you really, you know, suspend disbelief for a moment, sometimes you can even get a real sense of vertigo. And I wonder if there are any landmarks I can recognize just from up here. I think that's probably the temple. Yeah, I think that's Germain's temple. I could be wrong though, let me look around a little more. Yeah, that's the temple. The fortress, and that's the Bastille. You can see it's all kind of wrecked and ruined. There's a nomad point floating above my head, so I'm actually going to, no, never mind, I'm gonna stay here. Even with this nomad point floating around. Because is technically higher than those towers there. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that's, the Palais Justice. I think that is La Halle Bleu in the distance, the big domed building. And I'm wondering if I can see the broken tower that Arno uses to scout out the King of Beggars. I think that's it right there, actually. You can see that entire region is decrepit and ruined. And that's, from here it looks like it's a stone's throw away from the temple, even though it's quite far. And it makes sense that, Germain would have Latouche and the King of Beggars operate in that area. It's decently close to his fortress. It's in the same region. Their information center is, strongest over there. And it's funny, like, that over there is the part of the map that the Templars have strong control of, and, closer to Notre Dame is where the assassins have more control. And I think that's really interesting, because your first target is in this cathedral, and it's kind of like a lesson for the Templars. Like, this is what happens if you try to operate in our territory. Even, a fledgling, a newborn assassin like Arno could take him down. Let's make our way over to there. Quite the starry sky tonight. I like that they even modeled these little gargoyles. There is a thief 40 meters below me. Unfortunately, I am not an eagle-bearing Mystios, so I cannot jump down without suffering bodily harm. Unless I found a haystack, which is kind of the assassin's thing. makes me think either of the temple or of the mission September Massacres. But I think it's in the wrong place to be the structure from September Massacres. It's tough. Some of these landmarks I haven't memorized. I haven't really, got a lot of experience finding familiar at a glance. But we're gonna climb over here, and this is our friend, an eagle. Assassins have always been intimately connected with eagles one way or another, both as a symbol and as a guide of sorts. In the first game, whenever you saw an eagle in the sky, that meant that was a viewpoint for you to unfog a bit more of your map with, and, the idea in the original game was that not only was this a mechanical thing, not only was this supposed to be, something that you just do in order to finish an objective, it was also, ideally, a great place to actually look at things from, a good vantage point, but the draw distance wasn't really there. And that's kind of one of the things I like about Unity and, to an extent, Syndicate, is that when you're on a viewpoint, you can still see the ground. It's right there. You can look at the layout of the streets. You can see where bridges are. You can... There's a lot of interesting things of that nature that you can see in this game that you couldn't really see from viewpoints earlier in the franchise. So, this was a bit of a strange video. I'm not sure how many of you will actually like it. I just wanted to get it over with and finish it and put it out there. Just so I could, say I'd done it. And with that, I bid you adieu, and we are going to leap of faith right here, after we sync this viewpoint. So thank you so much for listening, and I hope you guys